God. Riding with one glove. I get a See that? IROC Z, baby. We got the good one. Hey everybody, welcome to the Big Jake channel. That was a super awkward intro, but we're gonna live with it because this is already my second take. Anyway, today we're gonna be taking a look at my 2009 Yamaha Raider. Now, what the hell is a Yamaha Raider? I asked the same question about a month before I bought this one. Now, the story behind this bike is that I had back-to-back sport bikes. I had a CBR 929RR and then a CBR 954RR, and the entire time I swore that I would never be one of those guys on a cruiser. Well, I got really tired of being uncomfortable all the time. If you can't tell from the video, I'm 6'7", so as much as I tried, riding a sport bike was not physically a comfortable thing to do. So when it came time to sell the 954 and say goodbye to my sport bike, I talked to Mechanical Batman, and only the OGs of this channel will know who that is, and he said, get a Yamaha Raider. And I said, what's that? And basically what a Yamaha Raider is, and I'm paraphrasing here, is this is their muscle bike. Now in the late 2000s, right after the chopper craze, Yamaha, Suzuki, and Honda all introduced their own perspective muscle cruisers, if you will. These were bikes that were bigger, larger, and more comfortable than sport bikes, but with an emphasis on more speed and performance than your average cruiser. So you wouldn't necessarily want to take this across the country, but it is no slouch. This bike actually runs, I believe, an 11-second-ish quarter mile out of the box. It's not your typical luggage rack cruiser. Now, what really got me about the Raider, because I'm an American and I like big things, is the engine. This is a 1,854cc engine, or 113 cubic inches if you're counting. Which makes it, I believe, the largest V-twin offering of the era. This is a 2009, the Raider started in 2008. This particular Raider, if you couldn't tell by the black on chrome on black on chrome, is a Raven edition, which is exactly what you think it is. It's just blacked out. It doesn't really have any special performance features. However, this one I found locally, and the reason I bought this particular one is because the previous owner, who was about 6'6", 6'7", had already installed a lowered seat and forward extension. So this particular bike was already set up for a tall rider. So when I sat on it and the bike was already perfect, I knew I had to have it. I made him an offer about a week later and picked the bike up about a week after that. So that's the story of why I have a cruiser, even though I swore I never would. I found one that was comfortable and fast and affordable. You can pick this bike up all day long for $4,000 to $6,000, which is exactly what I did. But the point of the video is not that I like my motorcycle, that's probably obvious. The point is, how does it ride on the road? Which means we're gonna cut to me riding the bike. That's the point of the video. So I guess there's no smooth way to do this. Let's just cut to that. Yes, yes, it pleases me. Now, one of the great things about the Yamaha Raider, and with being this big V-twin, is it peak torque is about 2,500 RPM. It's actually exactly 2,500 RPM, and like I said earlier, you get 120 foot-pounds from the factory. So this thing, in all revs and all over the power band, it moves. Like right now we're 30 miles an hour, probably we're second gear, maybe 2,000 RPM. And that was a roll-on. That was 3/4 throttle, 2/3 throttle maybe. I mean, when you roll into the throttle, this thing rolls out. We'll hop onto the highway real quick and I'll show you what it's like to go through the gears on a Yamaha Raider at full throttle. All right, so not full throttle right now. Trying not to die. Roll on. I don't know if you can hear me, but even at 5th gear, 70 miles an hour, lay into it, and it rolls, man. This thing might not make all the horsepower in the world, But that low-end torque, that V-twin torque, that 113 cubic inch V-twin torque, man, it makes up for it. You definitely do not feel slow on this bike, ever. Never, ever, ever riding this bike have I wished, oh man, if only it made more power down low. That would just be, I mean, of course, you always wish everything made more power, but you know what I mean. And the backfires and pops. This is a Vance & Hines exhaust, 2-into-1, and this has a Power Commander 5 on it. So this bike's probably making north of 100 horsepower and probably over 130 foot-pounds. Woo! This thing rolls out, man. This bike is a freaking freight train. It's the only bike I've ever owned that you don't have to use the brakes to stop. The engine braking with 113 cubic inches is so real. You can literally go 90 to basically 0 just by downshifting. It's unreal. And the fact that this bike was about $5,500 is incredible to me. This is a 2009. It has 9,500 miles on it. Aside from tires and an oil change, it is untouched from new. This bike has been ridden and ridden and ridden, and it works great. I just had it to my mechanic, and he looked it over, and everything is all good. That's another thing, you really only learn about motorcycles by riding them a lot, and that is, you know, the bikes that can do 180, 200, I love them. I mean, sport bikes are awesome, but the bikes that are fast, 0 to 100, 0 to 120, if you can live in that range and your bike is fast in that range, and this is, it's almost more fun. I'm not saying that the other bikes are slow, because they're not. In fact, they're faster. But this thing feels so quick between 0 and 100, 120. It's unreal. I don't miss my sport bike power at all. And that torque, that 2,500 RPM peak torque is incredible. I've never, ever, ever ridden another motorcycle that makes that much torque that early on. And I've had this bike allegedly up to about 100, 120, and it never fell off. You would expect this bike weighing 738 pounds to really fall off when you start to creep into the triple digits, and it just doesn't. It's not meant to tear up the corners. This is not something you're going to take to the track necessarily, maybe the drag strip. And it has a lot of things about it that aren't built for speed. I mean, there's a lot about this bike that's just kind of there for style and comfort. You know, it's not a street bike. And it's the same thing with the Challenger. It's fast, sure, but it's not all for speed. They didn't sacrifice a lot for speed. It's big, it's heavy, and it just makes a ton of power. So this thing is, to me, the happy medium between a sport bike and a cruiser. I one day might have some big cruiser that I can do 1,000 miles on and it doesn't bother me. This is not that bike. This is my 3 to 4 hours, and I'm going fast. It turns great. It gets 30 to 40 miles to the gallon, which is obscene considering how much fun it is. I mean, the fun to gas mileage ratio of a bike like this is unbeatable, absolutely unbeatable, because at the end of the day, after you've ridden 3, 4, 5 hours and you had a ton of fun, you're not beat up, you're comfortable. I mean, look at my feet. I'm just spread out. This is a lazy boy. This bike is a 100-mile-an-hour lazy boy. It's as big and as fast and as nasty as any other import or domestic bike of the era. Anything that you could get from a big OEM manufacturer, it is just as gnarly, just as loud, just as cool, in my opinion. Now, your Harley guys that are watching this, if you're watching this and you're a Harley guy, my review is probably not going to convince you on this bike. You're probably never going to consider this bike, and that's okay. But the Raider, to me, and this is what really still stands out about this bike, is it's such a hidden gem. Not many people know about it. When I take this bike anywhere, when I take this bike to a gas station, to a car meet, to a motorcycle night, whatever, the number one question I always get, I've never ridden this bike and not been asked, what is that? What is that? Because besides this Yamaha logo on the gas tank and then one over on the engine case, there's no logos on this bike. This bike is completely blank. Nobody has any idea what it is. And like I said, until I bought one, I didn't know what it was. I had never heard of a Raider before. So this bike, the Raider, the Yamaha Raider, which they made 2009 through 2018, is easily, in my opinion, one of the best hidden gems in the motorcycle world. It's fast, it's dead nuts reliable. In my experience, they don't break. You can pick them up all day long for cheap, for a third of what the comparable Harley or Indian would cost you, maybe less, depending on where you go. And they're just beautiful. I love the way they look. I love especially this one with the single seat, the fat rear tire, the rake stance, the black paint. I freaking love the way this bike looks. And I don't like a lot of cruisers. I'm not a cruiser guy, not my style. It was between this, the Suzuki M109R, and the Honda Fury, and I chose this, and I would again choose this every single time. I love this bike. So if you're thinking about a cruiser, if you're thinking about getting off of a sport bike and onto something a little more comfortable, or maybe you just want to add a second, third, fourth, fifth bike, this, in my opinion, is the #1 way to affordably be comfortable, fast, and cool. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I'm going to turn around and go to the gym because I'm a tool, and I will see you guys in the next video. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.